Droll and Lock Bird and its consequences have been a disaster for the Genesys format. It may have given great success to those of us who build around the card, but for many players it brings great pain and suffering for those second-tier decks that just get drolled. The continued development of the meta will worsen this situation, and players get better and better at building around Droll, playing cards such as Canine Ripper and Traptrix Fleesia. We will have greater damage done to the tier 2 decks of the format. It may even lead to terrible games for those of the decks who build around the card, as players start doing things like playing Ghost Mourner and Moonlit Chill in order to continue the war of Droll and Lock Bird. Welcome to my presentation of Droll and Lock Bird is Max C. So, Droll and Lock Bird's minigame is kind of different from the Max C minigame, because the Max C minigame, as many people will know, only had really one way of dealing with it, which is you had to have the cards in your hand before you could deal with it. That is not quite the case with Droll and Lock Bird. Droll and Lock Bird has a few other answers to it. In this slide, for example, we can see that we have Traptrix Fleesia, which we can use to find Gravedigger Trap Hole, which we can use to counter Droll and Lock Bird. If you make a Traptrix Fleesia before you search the first time, you will be able to make Traptrix Fleesia and play your full combo as if you were completely uninterrupted. Canine Ripper does basically the same thing, except unlike Traptrix Fleesia, you don't have to play Garnet in order to put it in your deck. Now, while Traptrix Fleesia has seen more play, because Traptrix Fleesia both costs your points at 10, and more importantly, is a forced rank 4 Xyz instead of a rank 5 Xyz, I predict Canine Ripper will see play in more decks, especially something like Canine Archmage. We also have a few other ways of dealing with Droll and Lock Bird. Crossout Designator, famously played by Distant Coder in the YCS Pittsburgh Invitational. And we have Dimensional Fissure, which has been played by a large number of people out of the side in order to beat Droll and Lock Bird. People do not play Dimensional Fissure in order to beat any other card other than Droll and Lock Bird. And if you can play 3-Dimensional Fissure in the side, play 3-Dimensional Fissure in the side, Droll and Lock Bird is that important. Now, there is fun final way to play around Droll, which is I call playing under Droll, or in Radiant Typhoon's case, playing over Droll. So Draco Tail is really good at playing under Droll because they don't have a lot of cards that actually search their deck to find the cards. They just get to draw or naturally set the cards. For example, this Draco Tail card will set the Draco Tail Flame from the deck immediately. Radiant Typhoon Vision draws 2 cards in draw step, and Radiant Typhoon Corsair can both find cards during draw step, like if you use it like Radiant Typhoon Vision, or you can also find cards from your graveyard and add them to your hand, so it can sort of play around Droll in both of these ways. So, if we could look at YCS Pittsburgh, we can see that 7 out of the top 8 decks play 3 Drolls in the main, and then the top 8 also had 3 people who just played under Droll directly. The Draco Tail players and the Radiant Typhoon players were able to just adapt to when Droll happened. They would be able to play as if Droll didn't happen to them. 3 people just got punked by Droll. The Genesys guy, actually, you can see he wasn't very good against Droll, but he was okay against Droll because he wouldn't search that often, so it wouldn't completely destroy him. But the punk players, they got punked by Droll. And then we have Distant Coder, my friend who just played 3 crossout Designator to beat Droll. And then we had the guy who won, who played 31 pieces of engine, so he could turbo out Traptrix Fleesia, and then play as if Droll and Lock Bird doesn't exist. I think this approach is kind of underrated, and we'll see more of it in the future. So Droll means that you have to play around it. 100% of the time, your opponent is going to be on 3 Droll. It's sillier than Max C minigame. You can not win it. You can win it using archetypal counterplay. If you go first, you have the card Dimensional Fissure. You do not have Dimensional Fissure going second. As a result, Droll and Lock Bird is a much more powerful card going first than going second. Although, due to a different problem with Genesys, Droll and Lock Bird probably actually increases the win rate of the player going second. So, if you play the Droll and Lock Bird minigame, we will see a future where we have decks that play under Droll, such as Radiant Typhoon and Draco Tail, Turbo Anti-Droll, Canine decks, Automat decks, Triple Crossout Designator decks, and the other deck, which we might start seeing, are people playing Ghost Mourner and Moonlit Chill in order to beat the Automat and K9 players by Ghost Mortar and Moonlit Chilling Traptress Reflegia and Ghost Mortar and Moonlit Chilling K9 Ripper. I think that will become a really common play pattern you'll see, which is somebody turbos out Traptress Reflegia, and the other guy goes Ghost Mortar and Moonlit Chill your Traptress Reflegia. It gets Gravedigger's Trap Hold, and then the Automat player gets drolled. So here's my suggestion. We're going to turn Droll and Lock Bird from a 5-point card to a 15-point card. 15 is not as large as you would think it is, but more importantly, with a 15-point card, unlike a 5-point card, we will be able to play the card, just not in every deck. One of the main problems I had with the format with Droll and Lock Bird is that Droll and Lock Bird is a 3-card staple in every deck. It's as if the minimum point threshold is 85 and not 100, because you have to play 3 in Droll and Lock Bird, and then you put the rest of the cards in your deck. So, the classic transfer repeat increases by 30 points. A deck like Automat or Draco Tail can't play it. Punk, Radiant Typhoon, Super Quantles, not Genesys, will be able to play the card. And that's fine. You can play the play set if your deck is built or lower power. Droll should be a card that lower power decks play. For example, here's an 85-point hand trap suite. It's playing sort of a classic mix of hand traps, playing 16 hand traps, a good amount. We have 3 Crow, 3 Droll, 2 Ghost Ogre, 3 Ghost Mourner, 2 Ghost Bell, and 3 Nibiru. We're playing 3 Ghost Mourner and 3 Droll. So we play 3 Ghost Mourner to negate the Traptress Reflegia that we see in play. We play Ghost Ogre and Ghost Bell in order to disrupt people's hands. And we get to play 3 Droll. This is a pretty nice, solid hand trap suite that, again, didn't really suffer. We did have to pay a huge amount of points, but if you're playing, say, Gold Pride Punk, or you're playing Art Mage, this is a fine hand trap suite, and it's good that a player who's playing Automat will not be able to afford the Drolls. Now, if we have only 49 points to spend, now we can't afford to play Droll, but we can still play a pretty reasonable hand trap suite. Here, we're playing 3 Crow, 3 Ghost Mourner, 3 Ghost Ogre, 2 Nibiru, 3 Miltermi Fulos, and 2 Skullmeister. This isn't necessarily the strongest hand trap suite, but we still have viable hand trap suites. It's not like Droll is going to necessarily prevent people from playing hand traps. It's just going to prevent people from playing a broken hand trap in every deck. Thank you for listening to my presentation on Droll and Lock Bird, the Max C of Genesys format.